that I would not. I feel good.
AM 1220 KHTS, Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour with Dr. Feldman. PrimaPediatrics.net or 424-9000 for more information on Prima Pediatrics. Make sure we're also streaming live at hometownstation.com. And we were talking about trying to get your kids to eat properly. We went through several different problems, and we have our solution maker in Dr. Feldman.
We hope.
Yeah, and so another problem is kids are grazers. Sometimes kids snack all day, and by the time meal time comes around,
they're not hungry.
They're not hungry. So how do we adjust with that?
Well, there's a couple of things about that. And first I have to say, it does remind me of my favorite cartoon in Mad Magazine years and years and years ago, The Lighter Side Of. And it shows this family at what they apparently is a Howard Johnson's, and they say, "We're hungry. When's the food coming? Have another roll." The next panel says, "We're hungry. When's the food coming? Have another roll." There's 3 or 4 panels exactly like that. At the very end panel, "Here's the food. We're not hungry." And that's exactly what you're talking about.
So that's the issue we're having right now, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well, the truth of the matter is that grazers are better off. Grazing is a much better adaptive mechanism to eat properly than eating 3 big meals a day, to be perfectly honest. And so instead of adapting your kids to having 3 big meals, what you should be doing is making sure that all their grazings are well-nourished grazings. In other words, they don't load up on chips in between. And then don't expect them to have a lot at mealtime. Give them smaller portions. But to eat 6 meals a day is probably the healthiest way. So you have your breakfast, then you have a mid-morning snack, you have lunch, then a mid-afternoon snack, and then supper. In fact, in Israel, they do not have a heavy meal in the evening at all. The biggest meal of the day is breakfast. Israeli breakfasts are so well known. They're loaded with vegetables. They serve all kinds of vegetables and fish and eggs, proteins, yogurt, and so forth. And then, so you hearty breakfast that almost everybody does. And then you have like a mid-morning snack. The big meal of the day is lunch. That's the dinner. That's when they have like meat and potatoes, and like we usually have in the evening. The evening, they have what we usually have for breakfast. Eggs, French toast, that kind of thing. And it's fascinating. There was just a study published about 3 weeks ago that gave exactly the same caloric content to 100 women, 50 of whom got it at different times, at one time of the day, 50 of whom got it at another time of day. They gave the same amount of calories and the same kinds of foods, but 50 of the women had the bulk of their calories in the morning at breakfast, and 50 of them had them in the evening, like we usually do in America.
Okay.
And this was not actually from Israel. This was done here in the States. And they were on a 1,200 calorie diet to lose weight. The women who had the bulk of their calories in the morning lost almost 10 pounds more in the 6-week period than the women who did it in the evening. And we're talking about the same kind of food and the same number of calories. So there is something to eating more in the evening. So if your kid doesn't want to eat supper, that's fine, so long as they're not asking for a snack before bed.
There you go, yeah.
The deal is, eat what you want for supper. I'm not going to force you. Do what you need to do. But don't ask me for anything at bedtime, because once the kitchen is closed, the kitchen is closed. And that's the other thing you need to teach kids. And this is part of the whole thing of kids need regularity, discipline, structure. They can't expect to be fed continuously whenever they feel, because then they lose the idea of how to become satiated.
Oh, okay.
So they need to know that, breakfast is served from 8 to 9 or from 7 to 8, and mid-morning snack is at 10:30 to 11, and lunch is from 12 to 1 or whenever it is that you set that hour, and mid-afternoon is from 3 to 4 when they get home from school, and supper is at 6. Done. Or at 5 to 6. And then they are done. The only thing they get at bedtime is a glass of milk
Okay.
or water.
Or water. Okay.
And that's it.
Yeah.
The other thing is don't feed yourself or your kids. And the truth is if you teach your kids to do this, you should be doing it too. No child is going to ever do what you tell them to do if you're not doing it too.
Gotcha. Monkey see, monkey do.
That's exactly correct.
One thing that I feel like parents do every so often is bribing with dessert.
Oh, yeah.
So make sure you eat this, and if you eat this, then we'll give you ice cream or whatever. If you eat this, we'll give you the dessert or whatever.
Right.
Is this a bad idea?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It depends. Like, if you have dessert with every meal, not a good idea. But if you have dessert with one meal a day, or, for example, if you have desserts on the weekends only, then if your kid isn't eating their food during their meal, they don't get dessert. But you can say, listen, we are having apple pie for dessert tonight. And by the way, dessert doesn't have to be apple pie. It could be apple pie without a crust so that they're getting apples, basically.
Yeah.
You know? You just got to call it apple pie.
Gotcha.
Then they
Okay.
all think, and you put some sweetening in it, and you make it soupy, and you bake it up so it's soft, and they think this is dessert. It's no big deal. But you have to tell them, look, we have this dessert tonight, but nobody gets it, including me, unless they eat the food on their plate.
Okay.
So dessert is a treat, and it is not an everyday thing.
Okay, so it's not something. Yeah. Okay. All right. And you. Okay, go ahead. No.
Well, you
please.
can bribe a kid that way because it's a good way to get them to eat the food that they have. But you shouldn't be serving dessert every day or every meal.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. We're gonna wrap things up. I got a couple more questions, and hopefully you have some answers. Odds are good that you're gonna have some answers. And that's coming up next. This is the Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour on AM 1220 KHTS with Dr. Feldman. More information on them: primapediatrics.net or 424-9000.